Hey friends, today I want to talk about if you don't feel appreciated at work. I hear this all the time and I feel compelled to make a video about this because I know how frustrating it can be. I think one of the number one overlooked things when you want to get appreciated, get promoted, get raises at work is you need to find a way to drive revenue. The response I always get is like, well, I'm not in sales. Like I have this totally other job. It's not my job to drive revenue. Honestly, if you have a job on earth, it's your job to drive revenue. And I'll share with you, kind of what that entails. But I really, really think people need to look into this and pay attention to this more. So I'm guessing you're thinking there's no way I can drive revenue or even save the company a bunch of money in my particular role. It is possible. I'll dive into a bunch of really common roles and I'll walk you through what do you need to do in each of these roles to actually drive revenue, to make a demonstrable impact in your company so that you can go on to get the promotion, get the raise, and really make that impact. The first thing you need to do is look at how much your company is making or your department is making. Those are really important things for you to know because you can't improve on something that you don't understand or you're not tracking. So go find where that's tracked within your company. Some companies aren't going to share the company revenue. If it's a private business, they may not share something like that, but you should at least be able to get an understanding of what is your department doing or what's kind of the breakdown for how you could actually influence that. So ask for some metrics. It's very common, obviously, to see them in sales and marketing, but oftentimes something like operations, you're just gonna have efficiency metrics. And it's cool, that's great, but how do we put dollars to that? And that's the key that we have to get to. You can look at whether or not your company has a financial model. If they don't, you can create a really simple one. Really, the purpose of getting a financial model is so that you can understand how the metrics break down, like I was saying. If you can't get access to one, what you can do is just take your price per unit, what you're selling for, times the number of units that you're selling, and that's gonna show you roughly what revenue that you're getting. That's a really, really simplified way to look at it, but at least it gives you a jumping off point to say, okay, if I can get our lifetime value up, which is price per unit, if I can get our churn down, which ends up being either price per unit or your number of units sold, usually more on the units sold. It could be selling more of your product. I mean, there's a lot of different things that go into this, and each one really comes back to, is it a good product? Before you can do anything, you really need something that is a good product. If you're in sales, I have other videos on increasing sales, but this really isn't it. This is more for the other departments that don't always have that clear-cut path to creating revenue. Let's say you're in engineering. Good example would be let's say you launch A/B testing. Let's say you launch it for the first time for your team. Now you're able to A/B test pricing and see how much you can raise prices without losing velocity of sales. All of a sudden, you might be making significantly more money in the business because of something you did on the engineering side. Any of those features that you're adding that drive revenue are really, really important, and you can assign dollars to them.
How many new customers were coming in with new pricing? How many of our existing customers stuck around? The size of the orders, how often they would reorder. Pretty much any stat that had to do with the health of the business you wanted to look at and make sure your pricing was not negatively impacting it.
I'd give a really similar example with finance, testing pricing by doing analysis, doing some testing. That's really easy layup for finance, but they can do all sorts of analysis. Operations is another really good example where people often feel like they can't drive revenue, can't save money, can't make a big impact. I'm here to tell you you can. You absolutely can. Renegotiating contracts is one of my favorite ways to do this in operations. I would say it's like a relatively low effort thing to do. Writing a negotiating email maybe takes like an hour. The benefit might be saving several pennies or nickels per unit of whatever it is you are producing. If you're new to negotiating contracts, I have linked a mastering negotiation worksheet in the description. It's free. I really want to help people with this, so I've written out exactly how to do this. So hopefully you can take this back to your team and really start to renegotiate those contracts for better deals. All right, sorry guys, had to swap out my hot tea for some cold brew. I'm sweltering here. Let's continue on. One of my favorite areas is marketing. In marketing, what is really critical is bringing on new distribution channels. You can think about marketing. I was just talking to my friend who is head of marketing at another company, and we were talking about how there's like incremental climbing that you do when you're trying to like get more sales from a marketing perspective. It's really important, but like usually you can delegate a lot of that, especially if you're in the upper management levels. That's like for your team to handle. And for you as, somebody who's more like leading the department or in upper level management, what you want to do is actually open new distribution channels. So that's coming up with new partnerships, reaching out to companies or influencers that are in your industry that aren't competitive. It's really just a numbers game, almost like sales. Expect like every 1 in 25 that you reach out to answer. So don't give up quickly because it's going to take time. That ability to bring together partnerships and launch those with your marketing team, because a lot of it is actually marketing work once you've kind of set up that partnership. And the thing there to remember too is really when you're reaching out, you're seeing how you can add value to that partner. You're not saying like, hey, want to come like advertise for me? I could really use your help to do this stuff for me. Like, no, it's the complete opposite. You're saying, I think this would really resonate with your audience, or I want to help you in this way. Try to add value in any way that you can to them. Maybe you're really good at social media and their social media sucks, whatever it is. Make sure that you're adding more value than you're asking for, and that's going to make a really mutually beneficial partnership because now they're showing up saying, hey, I want to help you as well. I'll throw up an example here. This is a Stumptown and Alaska Airlines partnership. I think Stumptown really got the hookup on this one because I'm sure they're selling, this is a whole new distribution channel. I'm sure they're selling a ton of coffee through it. But Alaska Airlines is probably getting a great discount on that coffee through this partnership. So I'm sure it's very mutually beneficial, but this is the type of stuff that I'm talking about when I talk about partnerships. And real quick, back to engineering and operations. When we're talking about marketing, something that I can't overlook is the ability for marketing to run the kinds of discounts that they want. So I experienced this a ton at Trifecta. A lot of our competitors were doing discounts over multiple orders, and we wanted to be able to do that. Now, operations and our engineering team, and for that matter, finance, had to all work together to give marketing the ability to actually run that promotion. Again, that's another way in these other departments that you could be adding a lot of value to bringing in more revenue or increasing the lifetime value of a customer, which is kind of what that one was. I just had to mention it because it is, oftentimes very cross-functional how you're able to get these big forward momentum things done. Okay, last one here is customer service. We can't forget about customer service. Super important. When you are in a role like that, it's really easy to not want to go down the road of AI, but that's where the future is going. So if you're in that kind of role today, what I would suggest is you go out and you actually learn how to implement AI tools, like let's say a chatbot, email responder, so that you're literally replacing yourself and your role. But here's the thing, because you're doing that, you're saving the company a bunch of money and you're becoming the expert on interfacing with the AI. So all of a sudden you're invaluable too. I know you don't want to lose any coworkers, but the reality is the industry is going to move that way regardless. you might as well be tip of the spear and be integrating that yourself so that you can be the one saving that money, driving that additional revenue. Let's take an example. Let's say you're making $45,000 a year. I don't know what customer service makes nowadays, but let's say. And the AI to replace that person is $12,000 a year. Now, all of a sudden you have that delta. I skipped second grade. Math is really hard for me, so give me a moment. That's 33,000 that you're saving, and then multiply that by how many reps you wouldn't need. Let's say it's 10 reps. Now all of a sudden you've saved your company $330,000. That's a lot of money. And does that deserve a raise and a promotion? Hell yeah. Because you're the queen of this, is making your job obsolete can be like a terrifying thing to do. But you're laughing because you've done this so many times. You've taken something from, no process or anything and literally like worked yourself out of a job. Like, how do you approach that? And were you scared? Terrified? Many times. It's very comfortable to get, into the work. You know how to do it. You do it well. And improving it means you give yourself more time. When you kind of take away that monotony, the stuff that can be improved, you open up opportunities for people to get creative themselves in their roles. So hopefully I've shown you there's genuinely always a way to drive revenue in your role. And at the very least, if you're in a support style role like customer success or engineering, you can save money within the role instead of driving revenue, which drops more net revenue to the bottom line. So either way, you can impact the company in major demonstrable ways. And that's really what it comes down to if you want to get a promotion, if you want to get a raise. We're not looking for small changes here. If you save 20 minutes a week, it's really not going to be helpful. Same with $100 a month. These are positive things, don't get me wrong, and incrementality is very important. But in terms of really getting recognized, you need to make these really big leaps. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Go make your company's money and go watch my latest video, and I'll see you soon.